Ethiopia is the most populous landlocked country in the world, meaning there is no country in the world which has huge population like Ethiopia and doesn't have access to sea. Ethiopia's fast economic growth, together with its rapidly growing population, really needs access to sea. The government of Ethiopia is making series of talks, dialogues, and diplomatic efforts to get access to sea. But how the government's genuine and legitimate effort is understood and supported by countries and international organizations. Hello and welcome, viewers. My guest for today is Dr. Abdi Zennaba. So Dr. Abdi Zennaba is Deputy Executive Director of Institute of Foreign Affairs. Dr. Abdi, very warm welcome to Ethiopian News Agency. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. How Ethiopia's lack of access to sea is hampering Ethiopia's economic growth and development. Let's start with this.
The lack of access to the sea posed a significant challenge for Ethiopia's economic growth and development. To further elaborate on the matter, the country has been experiencing huge increased cost, ever-increasing cost in terms of transportation and logistics. The high cost of shipping for transit and other things is hugely difficult for a country like Ethiopia, and at the same time also it reduced the country's export competitiveness. We have to cherry pick what we are able to export, and the long distance also created a major problem. And besides that, the lack of access to the sea means you will have a limited bargaining power. It limited significantly the country's capability in accessing global trade networks. And at the same time, as you know very well, it has a huge impact on the country's aspiration towards industrialization, because importing raw materials or machineries and other things is very expensive, and at the same time exporting these materials as well is very, very difficult. So the industrialization aspiration is highly hampered by the lack of access to the sea. And at the same time, as you know, we would like to have large foreign direct investment in the country. We have a huge potential. But because of this access to the sea, our capability is highly restricted, constrained by this problem. And for tourism and other things as well, we have been very, very, very suffering a lot in this regard. And the lack of access to the sea for Ethiopia is not only limited to the economic sphere, but it is a matter of existential concern. So this has been one of the few areas where we have been suffering in the regard in terms of economic sides.
Good. Several landlocked countries in the world have already secured sea access through various diplomatic efforts. So how the government of Ethiopia is trying to secure sea access, like through give and take principles?
As you know very well, it's a very important concern for Ethiopia. Ethiopia's priority in the Horn of Africa at large, in the continent as well, is revolve around three important elements: peace and stability, regional integration, and a strategic trade partnership. And Ethiopia has been working very hard to ensure diversified and uninterrupted access to the sea. Ethiopia, as you have rightly said in your introduction, is the largest populous country among the landlocked countries. Ethiopia's potential is very huge, and this will definitely benefit not only Ethiopia, but the region at large. Ethiopia has been working closely with the neighboring countries. As you know, there is high degree of connectivity with Djibouti, in terms of road, water, and other issues. Ethiopia is highly connected with its strategic partner, that is Djibouti, and we also have a strong relationship with Kenya as well. One of the important corridors is the Lamu corridor, the Lamu port and Lamset project, the Lamu port that connects South Sudan and Ethiopia. And Ethiopia also built a bilateral relationship with Kenya. In that regard, we have the one-stop center in Moyale. And also with Somalia as well, we have been providing security and involved in the diplomatic and the security areas to ensure the stability of Somalia. This country has been for a quite protracted period in a state of security challenge. And with also the state of Somaliland as well, we have a strong relationship. We have a triangular relationship where we try to develop ports with DP, with the presence of the Somaliland actors, and with us as well. And we have also very strong cooperation with Somaliland as well. And there was also a plan, initial plans, and a very good step to develop Port Sudan and work with the Sudan government. So Ethiopia has been working very closely to ensure regional integration. And while doing this also, Ethiopia provision has been very important. Ethiopia has been exporting and building infrastructures, exporting electricity, for example. Electricity to Djibouti, to Kenya, to Sudan has been very much important, and we want to also to expand providing this provision, important provision. And we have also a potential, as you know very well, of exporting clean water, drinkable water. We have started with Djibouti, but this will also expand across the region. There are a lot of things that the Ethiopian government promises to provide with a number of actors. As you have rightly said, this is a very important concern, and as also indicated, it's an existential matter. Ethiopia needs to address this issue quickly. In order to address this issue, the Ethiopian approach so far has been through integration, through give and take policy priorities. And the government has been working very closely with all the regional actors to ensure both naval access and outlet for the commercial purposes.
All right. You have elaborated the point very well, the reason and the significance of getting access to sea. Assume Ethiopia gets access, direct access to sea. So how that boosts regional integration, development and stability in the region?
This is a very important thing. And I think one need also to understand the intention and purpose of Ethiopia. Ethiopia understands its position in the Horn of Africa. It is for the populous country in the sub-region. It has territorial sizes, but besides that, Ethiopia is integrated already through regionalization, through societal integration across the region and across the Horn. And Ethiopia's aspiration and development goes in line with transforming the Horn of Africa region at large. Ethiopia's priority here is prosperity, stability, and regional integration. So any development that comes on Ethiopian side definitely will have a direct impact on the neighboring countries as well. So by building infrastructures jointly, by developing ports, railroads, and other infrastructures, we can develop, we can ensure our growth collectively. And interdependence has proven to be one very important instrument in providing as well peace and stability in any given part of the world. You know, the history of Western Europe is not like today. The history of Balkans is not like today. But through economic integration, through interdependence, these countries are able to address not only their economic concerns, but also security concerns. So this sight about the Horn of Africa as a region given to indefinite conflict can be altered. And this generation will play, I think, a significant role in carving a new path across the Horn of Africa, and for the Horn of African people to live in peace and prosperity through mutually beneficial terms and arrangements where each one respected the other and ensure development in a competitive manner.
I think no one argues with the very issue that Ethiopia needs to have access to sea, but some media organizations and personalities are trying to portray Ethiopia's quest, Ethiopia's legitimate and genuine quest for sea access as an act of aggression, as an act of threat of war. What are the motives of these entities?
I think we can categorize at large by three different categories. One is, the ignorance of failing to understand the intention of Ethiopia. The intention of Ethiopia, especially in a very assertive manner, since 2018 is transformed. That Ethiopia sees the Horn of Africa as a critical and important arena for its peace, stability, and economic prosperity as well. This is a very critical element. So whatever Ethiopia is planning to do, always take into consideration the concerns of our neighbors. In the past, we know there was this notion of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and the Horn of Africa is said to be doomed for constant insecurity and rivalry. So what we are aspiring to achieve here is not rivalry, not confrontation, but competition and collaboration. If we compete, we go together forward. That is a very important element. So some are very much ignorant in understanding the aspiration of the Ethiopian government. As you know, our Prime Minister is a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And the philosophy of Madamar is very much critical to address a lot of different problems within the country. And we want also to export this. And we want others also to come together. We want to work in a synergy with our partners. So that's a very critical element. The other category can be categorized as those who are still entertain an anachronistic point of view, which means an ancient and old understanding. We have to transcend and think of politics and power in a different manner, in a manner that benefits the people of Ethiopia, the people of the Horn of Africa, of Djibouti, of Eritrea, of South Sudan, Sudan, in Somalia and Somaliland. This is a very important element. This can come only by changing how we understand politics and power. We have to focus, reorient our attention. And the others are those who benefit from sensationalization. The media in some context seem to be attracted, especially in the current time, towards negative news. So sensationalization is the other matter. Every small thing, they want to explode it, and this yellow journalism has created a certain challenge. But as you have rightly said, Ethiopia's quest is not limited for the benefit of Ethiopia, but it is significant for the growth and development of the region at large.
That is so critical and insightful view of the situation, Dr. Abdi. So how neighboring countries, in particular Horn countries, should support Ethiopia's endeavor of getting access to sea? Because once we have said before that it will bring mutual benefit, regional integration, stability, and development in the region and in the wider continent, Africa.
As you know, it's very much critical to understand the international environment, to understand the importance of the Horn of Africa. The global economic trade pivot is shifting toward this Asia-Pacific, which makes the Horn of Africa a very critical geopolitical location. Ethiopia has a concern for its citizens and existence, and this concern stretched from Eastern Mediterranean up to the Western Indian Ocean. In between Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, Bab el-Mandeb, and Suez Canal are also our concern, because this is a very important outlet. And this is also an African concern as well. And our waters are controlled by different actors from distant places. This is a failure of Africa. This is a collective failure from our side. So I think one thing we expect is the reorientation in the understanding of managing our resources. The division and the skirmish among African countries give way, a space for others to exploit and benefit as expense of Africans at large. So governments need to have a better and mature understanding. This is a very critical element. Then from our neighbors, we expect a more increased diplomatic support to Ethiopia's initiative. This is highly recognized. This is widely accepted. Ethiopia's access for security purposes and for commercial purposes, an outlet is highly recognized. We want support on those regards. And we want also to join them together to work on infrastructures and other things. This needs infrastructure, development and other elements as well. So these are some of the things. And Ethiopia is willing also to collaborate with our neighbors in joint infrastructure developments, as we have shown, for example, in the Ethio-Djibouti Railway. We want also to our Horn of neighbors to join us in further developing our economy, buying shares in a different big companies that Ethiopia takes very much seriously. So Ethiopia welcomes the involvement of all the neighbors, and most certainly Ethiopia's aspiration will not be limited to one outlet. As I said earlier, we will have diverse and uninterrupted access across the Horn of Africa, and this is legitimate, and we pursue this through mutually understanding terms, through integration, and through peaceful means as well.
All right. Dr. Abdi Zanabe, Deputy Executive Director of Institute of Foreign Affairs, really thank you very much for sharing your critical insights and in-depth view regarding the topic of our discussion, Ethiopia's legitimate quest for sea access. I thank you very much, Dr. Abdi.
Thank you, Mr. Talal. Appreciate it.